Hi Bookworms and Happy New Year! Welcome back to another end of the year wrap up. Like always, I'll be rating my favorite 5 books and least favorite 5 books that I've read this year. Now note, if you're new here, these books weren't written in 2021, although some for the past few years. Now, this year was actually pretty good, book-wise, and I had more of a hard time choosing only 5 books for the good side than the bad side. Also, I reread a lot of books this year for fun, but also for my October series, and I'll have the playlist linked down below in case you're interested. And I won't be mentioning any of my rereads here, obviously only books that I've read for the first time. Also, these are obviously my own personal opinions. Feel free to get angry at my choices in the comment section and what else? If you're interested in the full reviews, they will be linked in the description box. Now, let's begin with my top 5 favorite books that I've read in the year 2021. Let's do this differently this time, and let's go according to order of publishing, because why not? So first we have the classic Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, a romantic Victorian novel. Now I was surprised to find out how much I enjoyed this novel, especially after not being able to stand any Jane Austen books that I've ever attempted to read. This is the story of the governess Jane Eyre, who starts working at the mysterious Thornfield Hall and develops a romantic relationship with its rich owner. Not only did I find this book going against some annoying stereotypes, but Jane herself had a place in my list of top 10 best female characters. Despite some lovey-dovey moments, I found this book really interesting, optimistic, smart, and even uplifting. Next, we have the ABC Murders by Agatha Christie. Now, you guys already know I absolutely love Agatha Christie. How many times have I talked about her books? But like many authors who wrote many books from the same genre, after a while you feel like you already read them all. I've never reviewed another book by her that I read this year. It's called Halloween Party, and this is an example of one of those been there, read that books. But the ABC Murders was just that good. And also very different from her other books. This book stars my favorite detective, Hercule Poirot, who attempts to solve a series of very strange murders. The first victim's name begins with the letter A and lives in a place starting with A, and the second victim's name and place of residence start with the letter B, and so forth. This book was unique, fascinating, and even somewhat ahead of its time, because it was talking about the psychology of the murderers. And this is something that wasn't very popular in the 1930s. So if you want to start reading Agatha Christie or old-fashioned detective books, this is definitely a good one to start with. We jump into modernity now with the rest of the list, and next we have The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. This is not a book for everyone, and it feels like it's a love it or hate it kind of a book, but the good news are that if you belong to the hate it group, you probably know it's not a book for you relatively soon into it. It's less of a continuous story like Morgenstern's other book, The Night Circus. This one is very magical. Imagine being in a huge library where all the magical stories come to life, and in my review I said that this book was like an adult version of The Neverending Story with a little bit of Shadow of the Wind and Alice in Wonderland mixed in. And it's for people who love the idea of being locked in a library and love fantastic stuff. So if you want more detail, my full review mentioned to whom this book might fit and whom wouldn't like it. It's a difficult book to review and to shortly explain, but I hope I did it a little bit of justice here. And again, full review will be linked. So let's move on. Next we have The Unlikely Escape of Uriah Heep by H.G. Parry. Thank you, Miss Parry, for creating this book. How did you know that this is exactly what I needed in my life? This novel is about 2 brothers. One of them has the power to bring book characters out of their respective books, and the other one tries to get him out of trouble. But when Uriah Heep, who is a character from David Copperfield, reveals that something big is coming and that there are other people with the same magical ability with nefarious intentions, the brothers need to stop them with the help of some chosen Victorian characters. Pretty simply, if you love the idea of Sherlock Holmes and Heathcliff and the Snow Queen and Mr. Darcy and others joining our modern-day heroes to fight evil, then you'd like this book. If, however, this book reminds you of Inkheart, I'll just point out that this is like an adult version of it. The novel also has a lot of themes regarding mental health or disability, at least that's how I read it. And also, obviously, the theme of sibling relationships. And lastly, we have Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia, that despite being written only a year ago, takes place in the year 1950. This is a haunted house book with a twist about a young woman called Noemi who visits her cousin after receiving a troublesome letter from her. Catalina, the cousin, claims that her new husband and his family are trying to kill her. And Noemi figures that, Catalina probably just misses her family. But after arriving Catalina's new home, Noemi starts realizing that there is something strange and sinister with the house and with the whole family. So basically, if you like smart protagonists, haunted houses story with some weight behind them, and novels about different cultures, read this one. The reveal at the ending of what is actually going on there might be strange for some people. I heard people talking about how weird it is, but I actually liked it. I love the twist on the genre, I love Noemi as a protagonist. I really understand why this book got so much praise. But now, to the real reason that you're all here. The worst books that I've read in the year 2021. So let's stay with the chronological order and first mention, hopefully move fast away from, Disgrace by J.M. Coetzee. To start, I am aware that I'm probably the only person in the world who hated this book, who got so much praise. And I honestly have a hard time understanding why. This book made me angry, made me uncomfortable, and not in a good makes you think kind of a way. This novel is about a middle-aged professor who has an affair with a student, and as he leaves to his daughter's house in a remote village, something terrible happens there and this shakes his entire world. The thing that I hate most about this book was how David, this professor, who is a villain basically, is framed and portrayed as a victim. And he never learns that he did anything wrong. It's like the book and the other characters really side with him. This novel should come with a trigger warning about rape, sexual assault, and this annoying gray zone of it wasn't rape because she wasn't screaming for help. And if you want more details, watch my full review. Honestly, I just want to move on from this book and never think about it ever again in my life. So let's move on to the next one, and this is Dear Mr. M by Hermann Koch. I haven't reviewed it yet, but it's on the way, probably in 2 weeks. This is an example of a book with an awesome idea and a very bad execution. Mr. M is an author who is being watched and followed by someone with a real-life connection to M's best-selling novel. Now, I liked how in the beginning you start getting clues to who this follower is, what does he want. But after a while I realized that this goes nowhere. After finishing reading, I wasn't even convinced in the motives of the follower, and also the book wasn't really engaging. Koch writes so not to the point, it's distracting. This book was a disappointment because it really sets itself up to be this cool mystery, and it's eventually nothing. Next, I have the book that my review got people so angry about. One girl got really upset with me in the comment section. I'm sorry, Morgan, but I stand behind what I said about Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. This is a psychological thriller about two unlikely friends. One of them is a single mother who is having an affair with her boss, and the other is the wife of said boss, who is this perfect suburban housewife. And as we see their friendship grows, we realize that there is something sinister beneath the surface. So basically, I thought this novel was stupid. It was cliché and tried not to look cliché, and basically it was exactly like all of those other thrillers that also claim to be different. Except the ending. The twist ending, despite feeling like it came out of nowhere, it was really powerful and made this book stay with me a while after reading it. It didn't make the rest of it any better, but at least kudos for the unique twist. But I did find the book mostly irritating, cliché, non-interesting, and in my personal opinion, I wouldn't even categorize it as a thriller. Next we have Bone China by Laura Purcell. After being disappointed by her other book, The Silent Companions, I decided to give her another chance, only to be disappointed by this one as well. Bone China takes place in the 18th century and has two timelines. One is about Hester, a new nursemaid to a disabled woman, and the other one is taking place at the same house 40 years prior, where a doctor tries to find a cure for tuberculosis. Basically, I had the same issue that I had with The Silent Companions. It was a good idea with a bad execution. I didn't feel the background characters or lore were fully fleshed. I found the book very non-engaging, and I never, for a moment, actually sensed any danger or fear. In short, I found this book quite useless and underwhelming. But I do have some more of her books, so what do you think? Should I try The Corset or not? And lastly, we have The Guest List by Lucy Foley. This was a nice pass-the-time kind of a book, and honestly I didn't expect much, but I still found it rather underwhelming. It takes place at a wedding reception on an island and is told from multiple points of view. There's drama, rich power couple wedding, but we get many flash forwards to something terrible that is going to happen, and we move forward in time until this something actually happens. And when it does, we know exactly who did it and why. I think the structure of the book was what really bothered me. I really don't see a reason to structure a book like that. It's not a thriller where you're trying to find out who the killer is. It's like watching a movie with someone who already seen it and they kept telling you stuff like, remember this guy? Then pay attention to him, he will die soon, and keep giving you spoilers. I heard that this one was supposed to be one of those better thrillers, but it's not. And that's it, Bookworms. Those were my favorite and least favorite books of 2021. Did you read any of the books I mentioned? Did you like them or hate them as much as I did? Share your thoughts and opinions below. Guys, thank you very much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to click the like button to show your support, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell so you won't miss any other video. Guys, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.